listening to the Why Boarding School podcast, broadcasting around the world. Join us as we promote independent boarding schools throughout the United States and Canada with our invited guests. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jeffrey Quebec.
Welcome to the Why Boarding School podcast. I'm Jeff Quebec, and today I'm joined by the Director of Enrollment Management at Wolfeboro Camp School in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, Jamie Goldsmith. Welcome, Jamie. It's great to have you here today.
It's awesome to be here, Jeff. Thanks for having us.
So going back to 1910, when several independent school teachers purchased a farm on Russ Pond in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire to establish a summer academic program, there's quite a rich tradition at Wolfeboro Camp School. To quote your website and mission, Wolfeboro blends the best of both a school and a camp in order to equip students with the tools for academic success, cultivate self-confidence, and nurture a lifelong sense of community and belonging. So Jamie, perhaps you can start out by giving our audience a brief overview of the length of the program, the number of students enrolled each summer, age of the students, where the students come from, etc.
Yeah. So as you said, Wolfeboro has been around since 1910, and in a lot of ways has really sort of stuck to why we were founded, which I think is a position of strength. We really focused on, in our academic part of the day, we are a camp school and quite literally a camp and a school, but in the academic part of the day, we are very focused on some foundational learning skills, and arguably are needed now more than ever with all of our sort of stolen focus from technology and things like that. I'm assuming we'll get into a little bit of our sensible tech stuff, but for us, we take students that are rising 5th graders through rising 12th graders, and co-ed, all gender school, and a 5-week program. So this summer we will be going from June 30th through July 25th.
And so these students are coming from not only over the U.S., but all over the world, correct?
Correct. Yes, we do have a nice global representation of students on campus.
Very nice. So Wolfeboro certainly plays a unique role as a summer boarding school. And can you describe what the academic curriculum is like at Wolfeboro Camp School?
Yep. So, we hit all of the sort of core courses, call it math, English, history, science, language, including Latin, which does draw quite a few students. And then we do have a nice ELL program, English language learning, that can meet a wide range of student. And within that, all of our courses are very, very focused, like I said, on those foundational learning skills. Organization, study skills. We are pencil to paper, which is very rare. So no technology at all in the classroom, except for a whiteboard. Some classrooms may even have your classic chalk to blackboard set up too.
And so certainly the students are receiving academic support throughout the course of the day.
Correct.
Classes.
Yes. Yep. So our students will there are 5 class periods during our academic portion of the day, and that is in the morning. So from about 8 to 12:30. And of those 5, they are taking 3 courses. All of our students, as they go through the process with us in the enrollment process, we are identifying their individual goals, so a real advantage for Wolfeboro is the fact that we can meet and be very personalized in how we are addressing students' goals. All of our teachers are very aware of that. So even within the same class content, students may be assigned different assignments based on what their goal sheet states and what the teacher is seeing as their needs.
So Jamie, can you share with us where the teachers at Wolfeboro are coming from?
Absolutely. So we are very fortunate to have a cast of very professional faculty. If it shows sort of any loyalty or love for the craft of teaching, then these are people who are teaching all school year, and then spending their summer. Technically, a perk of being a teacher would be taking your summers off, and yet they are continuing to come back and hone their craft as teachers. And they're coming back on average 16 years in a row. We, on the high end, have faculty who have been coming back to Wolfeboro for up to 40 summers. And they had to have been teaching for 5 years at the very least to be considered for a teaching role. And where they're coming from, many of them are coming from, you name it. They are coming from independent schools all over the country, all over the world. So again, very fortunate to have the teachers that we have, and they care a lot about what they do, and they're getting better every year when they come back to Wolfeboro to teach.
That longevity speaks to not only their passion and their dedication, but also the strength of Wolfeboro Camp School. They want to come back each year.
Absolutely.
They're passionate about what they do. And so for those students that might be interested in the arts, can you tell me a little bit about the visual and performing arts offerings at Wolfeboro?
Yep. So that would be part of our afternoon program, part of the more sort of camp side of Wolfeboro. We do have an art studio on campus, equipped with a pottery wheel and a kiln, and you name the art supplies, we've got it, with a teacher who's in there and working with students during the afternoon. So that's an option that they can sign up for. It's also a space that during sort of their more unstructured time during the afternoon, which they have an hour of unstructured time in the afternoon, they can come and hang out in the art room, and a nice place to unwind or just be able to have a creative outlet.
Nice. So to continue on that sort of afternoon activity period, how about the athletics at Wolfeboro? What are some of the recreational and fitness offerings that students can take part in?
Yeah, a lot. So we place sort of right on the edge there of Rust Pond. For anyone who's familiar with New England and the Lakes region, we are, just a stone's throw from Lake Winnipesaukee in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, and but we're very lucky to have sort of the privacy of Rust Pond. So from activity standpoint, we have a full-on waterfront with swimming, boating, kayaking, canoeing. You can learn how to sail, and several students even come with some of those experiences already. We've just introduced within the last couple of years a rowing program, which has been really great for us. Dale Hurley, who is at Andover and coaches the crew program there, we're very fortunate to have at Wolfeboro. So he runs that rowing program where students are getting up in the morning, actually, to before school to train. And then we do have, actually, side note, a rowing program in the summer after a 2-week rowing program after our main session. So outside of the waterfront, we also have basketball courts on campus, tennis courts. We do offer tennis lessons. We've got soccer fields, beach volleyball, and certainly students are, practicing their lacrosse. We've got lacrosse nets on campus there too. And coming up with games on their own, like Gaga and kick. They're playing kickball. We have intramurals after dinner, right? So some nice team camaraderie and competition for fun. Ping pong tables. We've got a fitness center in our student center, which is just a pavilion. So again, a little campy, but no lack of choices, I would say. And we do offer a golf option as well for students who are already sort of proven golfers. We take them down the road to go play.
So there's certainly a nice balance between the academic component and the sort of maybe more of the traditional camp activities.
Absolutely, and that's really kind of the beauty of it. We are a place that students can continue to kind of hone in on their goals as students. They can gain some momentum and gain some confidence as, again, in the academic realm, while also not compromising, right? Like there are plenty of summer academic programs out there, but they don't have to compromise at Wolfeboro a camp experience either, and really just getting to be kids. So we really feel like we've got the best of both worlds at Wolfeboro.
Yeah, very nice. So we're going to do, Jamie, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to continue our conversation and learn more about the Wolfeboro Camp School.
Do you have any questions or guests that you'd like to see on an upcoming Why Boarding School podcast? You can contact us directly through our website at whyboardingschool.com. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to the Why Boarding School podcast. And I'm Jeff Quebec, and I'm joined by Jamie Goldsmith, who's the Director of Enrollment Management at Wolfeboro Camp School up in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire. And Jamie, as we continue our conversation, perhaps you can share with our audience, what's a typical weekday like at Wolfeboro Camp School?
Yeah, so, for us, routine is really important. We feel very strongly, knowing what we know, sort of the science around habit building and habit stacking, that routine is very important. So really, every day looks pretty similar, with the exception of perhaps a Saturday and a Sunday. And again, I assume we'll get to that. But a typical weekday, we've talked about our teaching faculty. We do have an entirely separate staff for our residential life program. And those advisors, the residential life advisor, much like you would see at a boarding school, sort of acting as your dorm parent, right? And maybe your advisor as well. So that adult that you lean on, they're helping students get up in the morning and really kind of getting going, getting ready for the day. Those guys are then off to breakfast. You might have a few students who need to go up early for breakfast because they've got to go set a table and do sort of their work job and contribute to the community. So again, our residential life staff is helping students with that. A little bit of our tent cleanup. Our students do live in canvas platform tents, so there will be 2 to a tent. Quite nice. They get a light bulb, they have electricity, there's a fan in there, so that, again, while sort of camping, we'll call it glamping, right? So they get some tent cleanup time, head off to breakfast. You're sitting down with the same table for an extended period of time. Let's call it, each week there are new table pairings. And so you're sitting with students who are from all over the world, maybe students you don't get to interact with every day in the classroom or, again, out on maybe the athletic fields in the art room. And then sitting with a teacher and an advisor at your table. So a nice sort of family sit down for our meals. After breakfast, you're heading off to school. So you got your 3 class periods. You have maybe a daytime study hall or a summer reading period built in there as well to get your summer reading done. And then that other period during the academic day is a free period. And that is a time where students will get their phones. They get their phones for 30 minutes a day, able to call home. And again, I assume we'll sort of get to that topic later down the road here. But after the academic day, there is extra help with teachers. So between 12 and 12:30 and just before lunch, you can get some extra help from your teachers. Off to lunch, so that's another sit-down meal. From there, now it's camp, right? Your pencils are down and you get to just be a kid and hang out with your friends. Students are signing up for 2 activities to do each week and sort of staying in a sort of class format. So maybe you're signing up for soccer, right? Or basketball, maybe even tennis, right? So you can get sort of that continued learning through the afternoon, through activity and connecting with friends. And then one of those hours, as I mentioned before, is sort of an unstructured time for students, because we believe that's important too, for them to be able to make some choices on their own, maybe rest or just hang out with some friends and play cards. After that, we typically have some community time. It's probably going to be an all-school meeting with some fun built into that. We do have like our gray and green Wolfeboro Cup. So they're competing for that through some minute to win it challenges. After that, dinner, and then sort of picking pencils back up, maybe after intramurals for study hall. The amazing thing is students are finding that they're finishing their homework before their heads hit the pillow, before they go to sleep. And for some, that has never happened before in their life. And that feeling is just starting to stack some wins for them. And it is purposely designed that way. We want these kids to feel good about their work as students.
So certainly a busy day, but a lot of fun things going on throughout that day.
Absolutely. Yep. No, there's no doubt that it's exhausting and at the same time, a ton of fun. I think kids feel like they're very present during that day, and they're getting a lot out of that.
So, Jamie, you mentioned the residential life and how the residential life staff serves as advisors. And how are the advisors, how is sort of the advisee groups formed?
Yeah, so our advisee groups, our tent sections are formed really by age. So there's typically about 10 students in each tent section. So in the residential life side of things, an advisor would have sort of 10 students in their charge, who they are, helping go over their goal sheets each week. Our students are getting feedback constantly from their teachers. So again, the advisors are sitting down with each of their students in their 10th section and going over their goals, asking them questions, figuring out how they might want to adjust, what's working, what's not. These are all things that our advisors are getting trained up on to help our students through.
That's great. And so, Jamie, how about the weekends at Wolfeboro Camp School? What are they like? Are there activities taking place on campus? Are there trips offered off campus?
Yeah, so I think some growth for us is that we've been able to offer some more student choice over the last few years under Kathleen Nicholson as our new head of school, new within the last couple of years. And so, yeah, students are signing up for trips. It might be like a minor league baseball game, the Fisher Cats in New Hampshire. Would be an option up against like Canopy Lake Park, also in New Hampshire. So a couple amusement parks throughout the summer that they can choose. Bowling tends to be an option. The movies, going on a rafting float, and a science museum is another option. So it's pretty cool that again, students are able to we're now taking much more advantage of, I would say, what's sort of available to us locally. It's a really beautiful area. A couple of other like big days. We do have a mountain day. So where every single one of our students and much of the school community is getting up and peaking a New Hampshire mountain on the same day. So that's a really exciting day that they get off from school on a Wednesday, and that's where we're heading.
Very nice. And you mentioned earlier, Jamie, the meals in the dining hall. Can you share a little more about that? Are they served at a sit down? Are they buffet? Are they required? How does that work? Yeah,
so most of our meals are sit down family style meals where you're sitting with about a group of 8. As I mentioned, you've got your students, other students who are there, in addition to a couple of adults. So kind of learning the good table etiquette with the sit-down family-style meals. And we have moved to having a few maybe more buffet-style meals. Like Sundays, we've always had these barbecues, so more of a picnic where you go through a line, serve yourself, sit with a group of friends outside and just sort of enjoy each other's company as you get ready for the week to come. And that's a Sunday dinner. And then even like a Sunday brunch or breakfast before they head out for a trip is a bit more like buffet style. Go through a line, sit down at any table with a group of friends. Yeah, and I would say our students enjoy our food. We're very lucky
it's always important, right? Good
right
food
there.
For growing teenage,
young
adolescent
especially really
and teenage boys and girls. Yeah.
Especially active ones, yes.
Yeah, very much so. So you referenced earlier the sleeping conditions as far as you sort of joked about being glamping.
Yeah.
Can you sort of elaborate a little more so for those that are interested and kind of curious, how does that work and how are they arranged, et cetera?
Yeah, all of our students have, they're essentially call them like a studio apartment in some ways, right? But a canvas tent platform. There's only two to a tent, so every student has a roommate. We certainly do our best to pair those, and obviously things happen. And the beauty of learning to live with somebody is also learning how to deal with conflict. That's just part of life, and our advisors are equipped to help mediate when needed. But yeah, talking the tents, you've got a cot, so you're sleeping on a mattress and a cot. You have a dresser. Each student has a dresser. There's a desk in the tents, and like I said, a light bulb, fan, really sort of everything you need, but pretty basic, right? Like you don't want to bring too much with you to Wolfeboro. You really just need the essentials, which again, is I think for the way that we live our lives right now, pretty nice to just have to go minimal on what you have.
And so the students would basically be roommates with someone of comparable age?
Correct. Yes. So again, tent sections are split up by age. You're not going to be with somebody who's more than maybe a year older than you. You're more than likely to be with a student of the same age, same grade.
Great. And I know you referenced it earlier as we speak about technology at Wolfeboro Camp School, and I think it's something that we sort of are in the day and age where that's a big concern for a lot of families. Is, the quantity of screen time that their children have, and it seems like Wolfeboro is really on top of that. And if you could share with our audience how that works. Yeah,
so we feel very strongly that getting a real break from technology is such a gift, especially for teenagers and young people, but certainly for adults too, right? Working there, getting to step away from sort of the pressures of technology. So, we don't use any tech in the classroom. Like I mentioned before, it's all pencil to paper, which we know just really enhances learning and fires up parts of the brain that don't get fired up when you're maybe typing on a computer. But students are able to bring their phones. They can have their phones. They don't have them on them. They're only able to get them for 30 minutes a day during their free period. And what we find is it might be a little bit hard at first for them to, they get it. They're checking out everything that's going on back home and maybe getting that sort of FOMO, the fear of missing out. And then realize that's not serving them, so they'd prefer to just call home and give a little bit of an update. And we've actually had students who will turn their phones in early by the end of the summer because, they realize that some of the stuff they don't need to do, and they can spend a little bit of their free time in better ways. So we kind of see it as a reset and really just helping with sort of that emotional regulation part, and our hope is that by having it just a little bit as opposed to not having it at all, they can learn some better skills around boundaries with tech once they go back home and they have access to it all the time.
So it's not a bad thing if the families back home are concerned that their students not reaching out, but in fact they're having fun out in the waterfront. Or,
exactly.
Playing with their friends.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, we talk to parents about this all the time. It's no news is typically good news. I think another advantage of it is, if they get some hard news in the classroom, they can't just in between classes grab a phone and call home, and oftentimes, we'll find that sends perhaps parents into a panic when that happens. It doesn't happen at Wolfeboro. And ultimately, students are put into positions where they need to problem solve a little bit on their own. So we think that's, again, really advantageous.
What about the good old-fashioned letter writing, sending and receiving letters? Is that still taking place?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are definitely some students more than others maybe that are more excited about writing letters. Many students are learning okay, the stamp goes in the top right corner of the envelope, right? They're learning how to address an envelope. So certainly, I would say that's probably not as much as maybe it once was, but it's definitely happening a bit more with, you're at camp, so we're able to bring you mail, and kids are really excited to get mail.
Oh, sure. It must be exciting when they all of a sudden it's time to distribute the mail and they get something from their family or loved ones back home.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, Jamie, would you say, is there a typical Wolfeboro Camp School student?
I mean, it's a great question. We really serve such a wide range of students. And as I mentioned before, with the individual goal plan and goal sheet, every kid, we're able to sort of meet them in their needs. But ultimately, as I mentioned before, I think the foundational learning skills is something that every student can use at the moment. We certainly will have a couple of kids, or more than a couple kids, sort of looking for more enrichment, perhaps, and in what that looks like is previewing a class that they're going to take the following year, if that's math, science, and English even. So yeah, I would say we serve a pretty wide range of kids, but our hope is that every student is moving forward with their academic skills, with their social skills, with their organization and prioritizing and planning ahead and all of that good stuff. Every student is given a planner, which can sound archaic these days, but again, we know the benefits of putting pencil to paper and really having to think ahead and map out what the day or the next few days looks like.
So are there any sort of cool traditions at Wolfeboro Camp School that may be unique from other summer programs, or perhaps there's sort of that one tradition that you hope always remains part of Wolfeboro? I know you mentioned earlier the Wolfeboro Cup, but maybe there's some other things.
Sure, yeah. And so I think I mentioned too, like our mountain day, which is a really fun day for everybody. If you're like not into the outdoors at all, you're at least going to have that experience of hiking a mountain once, and otherwise you don't necessarily have to engage with wilderness there. But we also have now started these sunset paddles. So on a night in the middle of the week when it's looking like some good conditions for an amazing sunset, which we get on Russ Pond, students can get out of study hall if they're in good standing and really kind of earn being able to do a sunset kayak out on Russ Pond. So that's a really special thing. I would say another tradition might be pond jumps, right? Students after intramurals, if it's a hot summer night, able to jump into the pond before heading off to bed. Certainly the Borg Boys Campus, they're able to take more advantage of that, being right up against the pond in the mornings. The end of the summer, we do have a social, which is a ton of fun, put on by our residential life staff, and so that we're bringing in a DJ. One study hall, the other study hall has usually a movie going on, but then there are like lawn games and popcorn and cotton candy and all of that good stuff. So yeah, we definitely have a few sort of more campy traditions. There's a talent show, which is always so cool. Kids are always coming out with something that you're like, I had no idea that you could do that up until this moment. And it's just a really neat way to bring the school together before our prize night, which is the following night, and then they head off. But just having some ceremony around the good work that they've done all summer is really important to us.
That's nice. So you mentioned as far having that prize night, then heading off the next day. And so for those families or students who might be apprehensive about maybe even just going away for the first time, right, being away from home, what does that final day look like when they're getting picked up or they're heading off to the airports or looking to head home? What does that look like?
That's a great question. As you might imagine, and it's funny, they've spent 5 weeks essentially being in a summer academic program, and they are in tears before they leave. These are students who are creating lifelong connections and friendships, and they're really able to do that because they can be so present with us for 5 weeks at Wolfeboro. They're doing really hard work, but they're having a ton of fun. They're doing that together. They're well supported. And again, you're making friends from all over the world.
I think that's certainly a tribute to the work that you and others are doing there, that you see these students that have had such a powerful, probably life-altering experience that they're in tears when it's time to, depart. That's awesome. It
is. And yeah, again, there are the outcomes of having higher academic confidence, being better skills, right, as a student. But ultimately, I think one of the best outcomes is those lifelong friendships.
I also certainly imagine those emotional impacts are one of the reasons why you have faculty and staff that continue to return every single year. When you see reactions like that, it's pretty powerful.
It is very, yeah.
So Jamie, before we speak about the admissions process, is there anything about Wolfeboro Camp School that we didn't discuss today that you'd like to mention?
It's a good question. Not that I can think of off of the top of my head. We've done a pretty good job of covering sort of at least the surface here.
All right, great. So if someone's interested in Wolfeboro Camp School, how might they go about starting the admissions process?
Yeah, I would hop on our website, much like you might go through the secondary boarding admission process. You go fill out an inquiry, and that'll sort of get the ball rolling. Set up a meeting with me, and we can talk about sort of the goals that you have for your child, and if Wolfeboro would be a good fit for that. From there, you can fill out an application. We have our own on our website that you can start. If you are filling out a standard application online, you just have to check our box off, and that will come through as well.
That's great. So what is the website address for Wolfeboro?
We are wolfeboro.org.
Pretty simple, wolfeboro.org. Awesome. Well, Jamie, this has been great. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed our conversation, and certainly learning more about the Wolfeboro Camp School and sharing it with our audience. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us, Jeff.
Awesome. Jamie Goldsmith, Director of Enrollment Management at the Wolfeboro Camp School in Wolfeboro, New Hampshire.
Thank you for listening to the Why Boarding School podcast. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode. Please remember to subscribe to the Why Boarding School podcast and help us spread the word. Until next time.